Another thing that you can expect in Kenya, they gonna tell you is 10 days, boo is 12. Why didn't I count the start date and the end date? Why didn't I do that? I just saw 10 days silent meditation retreat and I banked on it. I did not count the start and the end date. Hello. But I wasn't the only one. It's 12 days, boo. It's not 10. Welcome to BLAXIT to Africa. I'm Tadre Delora Moignet, a California native living my best life in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you so much for coming along for the ride. I hope that you are informed, entertained, and inspired to BLAXIT to Africa. Lord have mercy. Oh my goodness. What I want to talk to you guys about today is Vipassana in Kenya. Now you might be wondering like, okay, what does this have to do with BLAXITing? But this is about the experience of living in Africa, Kenya specifically, Nairobi, Kenya in my case. This is about inspiring you to come. This is about informing you. And if you are living in Kenya and you are considering doing Vipassana, the 10-day meditation retreats, then you might want to watch this video. If you are considering immigrating to Kenya and you are a spiritual being and you're interested in the spiritual activities and events in Kenya, you will want to watch this video. You want to listen to this podcast. So per usual, Auntie has her notes here. I need to stay on track and let's get into it. Okay. I did a Vipassana retreat, quote unquote retreat, in Nairobi, Kenya a few months ago. I think it's probably been about 3 months. It's been that long. And I've seen on YouTube where people are just leaving the retreat. They're still processing and they shoot these videos about Vipassana. But you're still integrating what you've learned. And I felt so horrible leaving the Vipassana Bootcamp. That's what I call it, the Bootcamp. That I know me, and I know that whenever I move from a very emotional space, it usually don't end well. And I wasn't trying to drag nobody, and I wasn't trying to come to you with unprocessed emotions, so I chose to wait. Now I have damn near fully integrated everything that I learned in the boot camp and processed. And I want to come to you with the real. I want to be completely honest. You may be wondering, what is Vipassana? Vipassana is a meditation. When I was researching what to expect at Vipassana, people were talking about like what it is from an academic standpoint, what you should bring, what the schedule was, what you would eat, but nobody was really talking about the process. And yeah, nobody was really talking about the process. I want to talk to you about the basics. So there are 5 rules to Vipassana meditation. 1, abstain from killing any being. 2, abstain from stealing. 3, abstain from sexual activity that includes self-pleasuring. 4, abstain from telling lies. 5, abstain from intoxicants. Vipassana is a form of meditation, and Vipassana retreats exist all over the world, and they're free. Imagine, they're free. So that's another reason why they're very popular. There are at least 2 Vipassana boot camps in Kenya that I'm aware of. One is at Kolpang and the other one is at Lu, Kenya. And several locations in the United States. And they are marketed, if I'm using a correct word, I won't say marketed because it's not really marketed. They're billed as 10 days and they are silent. And, you know, there's no talking. They take your phones, all that stuff. And I wanted to do it because I had several friends that had done it and they loved it. And of these friends, they do them multiple times a year. You know, some people even done it 14 times. Like the practice really, really works. But the teaching model, for me, for my personality type, is what sucks. And I hadn't seen anybody really talking about Vipassana in Kenya beyond what they got out of it. Vipassana. I also want to be very clear that Vipassana in Kenya is completely volunteer ran. So I want to be careful with my words, but I also want to be very authentic. I don't want to slander anybody. I don't want to make anybody look bad. I just want to be authentic and genuine in what I'm sharing here. And also respecting the volunteers that chose to give their time and their expertise. So like I said, Vipassana is a meditation. It is a karmic clearing meditation. The Vipassana technique requires that you go into a very quiet place, a very still place, and literally scan your body. You can scan your body internally, you can scan your body externally. By internally, I mean like around your organs, etc. Externally, like your skin. And what you're looking to feel, what you're trying to feel are any sensations out of the ordinary. So any itches, any pinches, any tingles. And we feel these things throughout the day, right? And we just scratch and we just, whatever we do, right? We adjust and we don't pay attention to these things. But really, through the Vipassana meditation, that's your karma coming up. And so when you feel the sensations, you focus on it without judgment, laser-like focus until it goes away. And you go from head to toe, from toe to head, doing your limbs, all of that. The Vipassana technique, that practice, usually takes me about an hour, okay? They recommend that you do an hour in the morning and an hour at night. I don't know who's living in the modern world today and engaging who has time to do that. But, you know, I get up super early, sometimes around 3 or 4, and I do my Vipassana. It's still a part of my regular meditation. What to expect? Okay, the boot camp that they call in a retreat, baby, hated it. Hated it. Listen. No. I even talked to a friend and an acquaintance who are on the board of Vipassana Kenya and told them about my concerns. They agreed. Everything that I mentioned, they agreed. However, there was always a but. Oh, it's done like this because you're right about this. They need to change that. We're working on hey, maybe this video will be used to turn up the flame, to let them know things need to change, honestly. Okay, so this is what you can expect at Vipassana in Kenya. There's no talking. I thought that would be the hardest part for me, but it wasn't. The hardest part was just sitting there for 2 hours and being present and, being uncomfortable, literally being uncomfortable, being completely still for hours at a time. I actually enjoyed the silence. One of my girlfriends was like, I don't know if I could do it because being alone with my thoughts. Listen, I enjoyed it. It was like self-care because you are so tuned into your body. You're just scanning your body. And yeah, I actually enjoy the practice. For the extroverts, Lord have mercy. Y'all, extroverts was having a hard time. You're not even supposed to look at people. You're supposed to pretend like they not there. Even your roommates. My roommate was like, at the orientation, she was like, have you heard we can't even greet each other in the morning? Have you heard we can't even talk or look at each other? I was like, yeah, girl. I'm an introvert, so I was like, in fact, when they lifted the veil and we were giving them permission to talk, I was like, damn, I didn't want to talk to nobody. I was enjoying the silence. Okay. Another thing that you can expect in Kenya, they gonna tell you is 10 days, boo is 12. Why didn't I count the start date and the end date? Why didn't I do that? I just saw 10 days silent meditation retreat and I banked on it. I did not count the start and the end date. Hello. But I wasn't the only one. It's 12 days, boo. It's not 10, okay? And that's a whole story in and of itself because day one, they count as day zero. I'm like, that's not day zero. Y'all took my phone in the afternoon. We had an orientation. We meditated. We ate. That is not day zero. That's day one. And then on day 12, that they call day 12, which is really, they call it day 10. See, I'm even confusing myself. They call it day 10, but it's really day 12, okay? On day 12, they got you meditating, you eat, and you clean. Sir, ma'ams, listen. Like I said, they take your phone. This is the other thing. Like, when does the meditation boot camp start? I arrived earlier than I was supposed to, thinking that if I came early, I could get a room to myself. That didn't happen. All these people come. We waiting around. Those of us who had never done it before, and it's just like, okay, what's about to happen next? You don't necessarily know. Okay, there's an orientation. You sign the forms. All of this. You read this, that, the third. Then it's like, okay, hand us your phones. Oh, you want to hold on to it a little bit longer? Okay, you can. Like, okay, so it's just like you get there, they give you a booklet, you read the booklet, you sign, and then you just wait around for hours. That type of structure don't work for me. I need you to tell me what's going to happen next. We literally didn't get started until like, was it 4 o'clock? It was close to sunset. Between 4 and 6 is when we actually got started, but I got there in the early afternoon along with other people, right? I was so reticent about giving up my phone. Like, I was, like an addict. Let me just scroll a little bit more. Let me listen. For foreigners, they want your passport. I don't know why they want your passport. I'm thinking like, if something happens, if the police come, like maybe they have your passport, or I don't know. But I gave up my passport anyway because they say, what? Don't lie. You can't bring no food. You can't bring no snacks. Because I certainly was getting ready to roast up some cashews, spice some. No, you can't bring none of that. Although there was folks sneaking food. I'll talk about that later. They give you your phone back on the 10th day, which is like, why? If it's really not over on the 10th day, why are you giving us our phones back and why are you telling us we can talk? See, this is gaslighting, okay? But then you want me to stay for 2 more days. Whew. The things I went through in my head, just the confusion. Yoga versus no yoga. So you're not supposed to do any physical activity. They just want you to be within this space of Vipassana. They don't want you to sunbathe. I don't really understand that. I hear in other Vipassana retreats in other parts of the world, it's fine. They even have walking meditation. But in Kenya, it's just very dictatorial, okay? And so I had heard online and also read in the booklet that they gave to me that yoga was allowed. I called beforehand and asked if I could bring my yoga mat. They said that I could. I show up in between meditation. I wanted to do yoga. All this hoopla about them telling me I could not. Excuse me? So finally, like when I challenge them, they go and check, they read this, da da da. Then, okay, you can do yoga, but you have to do yoga in your room. I'm like, well, I have a roommate. That's okay. Contradictory to what was told to me before. Don't do yoga in your room because you will distract your roommate. So what I did was there was a small space in front of our door. I went outside, I rolled out my mat, and I just did my yoga out there. It was very important for me to move my body after sitting for, 8 to 10 hours per day in complete stillness. That was very helpful. I also talked to a vet who told me that she brought some little pull-up situation that you hook on the door and she just goes in her room and does her pull-ups. It seems like the vets They call them old students. They get rooms by themselves, whereas those of us who are newbies, we don't. Okay. You start at 5:30 in the morning. If you're not an early riser, boo. They gonna get you up because they ring this loud ass bell. Okay. 4:30 in the morning, you start meditation. Okay. 9 p.m. at night is when you go to bed. So all throughout the morning, the afternoon, and into the evening, you are meditating, you're listening to a lecture that's I I heard people laughing in the lecture. Some people enjoyed it. Me, I was like, who is this person talking to me, and can we speed this along? I think it's an hour and 15 minutes this lecture every evening, where the relevant bits is really just the first 15 minutes, okay? The rest is just anecdotal. The way my mind works, just give it to me and give it to me fast. I don't need all of that. Just give me the specifics. Okay. If I'm reading a self-help book, I need the one that's like this, not the one that's like this, because that's fluff. Get to the point. Then they expect you to clean up. Uh-huh. I had a problem with that because my room wasn't clean to begin with. Then they expect you to clean the center after the whole thing is done. Excuse me? That is optional, it's voluntary, but knowing what I know about this place, there's some shame involved for those who don't stay and clean up. I understand that they work on a voluntary basis and that Vipassana Kenya is renting this space at Colpane in Nairobi. But if I had come there and been treated well and arrived at a pristine place, then I might be inclined to help out. But because I was gaslit and mentally abused, I was like, ain't no way. Ain't no way. Which brings me to the facilities. So, as far as I know, Vipassana Kenya is held in two locations. One in Nairobi at Kopang, which is like a Catholic center. They have a hostel, they have a cafeteria, they have offices. That's where I was. Then there's one in Lukenya, which I hear the facilities are worse in terms of cleanliness. They're dorm rooms, like it's a school. So, there's dorm rooms, and, as an adult, sleeping in bunk beds and sharing room with a bunch of people, that might be a jar for the senses. However, they did have expansive forests that you could just wander in. And after being in your body and meditating for hours at a time, there's one point where I felt like I was levitating. It's nice to be able to go out in nature and to ground and to just marvel at what the universe created. That was not the case at Kopang, honey. Is it Kopang or Kopang? I can't remember. Baby, they had these beautiful gardens, albeit they weren't very expansive. They had these beautiful gardens, and you just couldn't venture in them. There was string, right? That would just section off everything. And so all you could do was just like stand under a tree and just look. And trust me, for a lot of us, we were just like mesmerized by nature after just essentially being in almost like a trance like state. And you can't lay on the grass, you can't sunbathe. It's not making sense. Why wouldn't I want to connect to nature? Anyway, the rooms were okay. Although I did find like some things that were just like, okay, let me not just pay attention to the gum stuck here. They came and gave me a bath rug. It was white at some point, but it was like dingy, grayish brown. When they gave it to me, I was like, there's no way I'm using this. I just like folded it and just put it outside because I'm not putting my feet on this. The bathrooms, filthy, filthy. Part of the problem that I had with this experience is that when I would bring my concerns to the servers and the teachers were the only people we could talk to, of course, in a whispered voice, and only about, what your concerns are. When I went to talk to them about certain things, it was like they just brushed me to the side. So I'm talking, you get two men servers for the men, two women servers for the women. The men and women are separate. right? And for good reason. I'll get into that. Um, so when you go to your servers, they're supposed to be there to address any concerns that you may have, any questions outside of actual meditation that you may have. You go to the teacher when you have questions about meditation. And I found that just going to the service, it wasn't working. It was like a good cop and a bad cop. So I'm talking to them and I'm like, my bathroom is dirty. The shower, like I would say from your rib cage down, was just filthy, horrible. And they were like, yeah, it's just stained. It's just yes, it's stained. It's stained with dirt and dirty skin cells. I don't understand why that was so hard to get. So one of the servers was like, actually, we should pay attention to what she's saying because other people have come to me about this situation. And nothing happened. So I said, I'm willing to pay one of the housekeepers to come into the room and clean my room. Oh, they're not allowed to mix with us. I'm like, where are the housekeepers? Oh, they're not allowed to mix with us. There's detergent. There, you can clean yourself. Excuse me? That was a whole nother thing. They had one bucket, one packet of detergent for all the women at this boot camp. And then got the nerve. You're supposed to wash your own clothes by hand. Listen, for somebody that did not grow up in boarding school, for somebody that is accustomed to having indoor plumbing, to y'all, you expected me to just be washing my clothes every day, the sheets and whatnot. It's not happening. Okay, I brought enough clothes to last me 10 days. So that wasn't handled. My roommate, on the other hand, you know what I'm saying? Like, she knew the bathroom was dirty, but she was just able to live with it. She afterwards, she was like, it wasn't that bad, was it? I said, girl, it depends on what you used to. She was mopping the floor. I was like, I'm not cleaning shit. That was just my attitude. When I went into the bathroom, I tried not to look in certain spaces. I would light a candle. That's another thing. I brought 10 candles to help me realize that, okay, this is now day 7. It's now day 8. We're at day 9. We're at day 10. Once I reach day 10, I'm like, I'm done. No, baby. I reached day 10 and they was like, tomorrow you'll be given your phone. So men and women were completely segregated, and for good reason. A lot of stuff comes up, and I found myself being drawn, like, okay, what are the men doing? Like, you're literally in the same hall meditating with men, but there is a divide, right? So their cushions are on the right side. In my case, the ladies' cushions are on the left side. And even where we're staying, men and women were in different parts. And then there was like even a sheet, like on those areas where men and women ingress and egress come and go in the same spot, there's a sheet, right? There's signs saying men's area, women's area. I thought that was interesting. Like, I didn't mind it. A lot comes up during Vipassana: anger, sadness, even arousal can come up for some people. So I thought that was a good thing. But then I was like, they're assuming everyone's hetero, and everyone clearly is not hetero. So there was that. Let's get into the food. The food was good and terrible. Let me explain. First of all, my girlfriend, who's done Vipassana, I think like 14 times, she told me her food was good. I think your food experience will depend on, actually, your overall experience will depend on your mindset, also your location, your teacher, the servers, the cooks, your experience. The variables are just too many, in my opinion. Like, the variables are just too many from one person to the next. There's certain things that should be controlled, like quality of food, like standard of housing, bedding, quality of teachers, availability and accessibility of servers. Yo, again, I want to say this with respect, but also be completely authentic. Um, our cook was a volunteer. He was a veteran student. as they call them, old students. He was an old student. I think he had help. It's a huge job cooking for all these people. I think we had maybe 20 women and maybe like 8 to 10 dudes. I didn't count. Um, and you're making breakfast, lunch, dinner. No, I'm sorry. Did we get dinner? Breakfast, lunch, and snack. That's the problem with doing this so far away from when I actually did it. You do get breakfast, you do get lunch, and you get a snack. That's the other thing. You're going to be hungry. You gonna be hungry. The way folks' stomachs was growling in complete silence, and nobody's embarrassed because everybody's stomach is growling except for the folks sneaking food. But that's another story. Okay, so yeah, you after your 4:30 meditation, I believe is it 6:30 where you have your breakfast. The sun has risen by that point. You have your breakfast, um, break, meditation, break, lunch. The lunch is going to be your biggest meal of the day. Get full. Because the next time you eat will be in the evening, if I'm not mistaken, and you're going to get a snack. There's water, there's tea, there's fruit. In our case, it was watermelon and papaya. Honey, I was like, how many watermelons did they buy? The watermelon was good, by the way. I love the watermelon. But you don't eat again until the next day. So I think there's like a 12-hour span between when you eat again. Hey, listen, my body was so snatched. My body was snatched, okay? So your last meal, I think, is at 6 p.m. So one of the things that I've tried to carry on since I've been back into the real world, this alternate reality, is to stop eating by 6 p.m. And it's been working. So, like I said, it was a huge responsibility for that man to cook for us several times a day. We'll just say multiple times a day, and all that food for all them people. Especially if you don't really have a background in food. I don't know. Listen, but respectfully, that food was good and terrible. Listen, it's mostly vegan Indian cuisine. I believe they did have ugali. They got rice, lots of beans, there's stews. It's vegan. I don't mind vegan because I'm a vegetarian. But for those who like they meat, oh my God, I was tickled a little bit. I was a little bit tickled because there was a sister who was a couple of seats down from me who was just staring out into clear space like, I can't believe this is my life. I'm supposed to eat this. Listen, that's it. It's vegan and it's mostly Indian and it's watery. Ours was watery and tasteless. I was just like, I asked the server, I said, is the goal to humble us? With complete sincerity, was the goal to humble us? She just laughed. They gave us salad with no dressing, and it was romaine lettuce at that, no nutritional value. You could have just gave us some acai sukuma wiki. You could have just, or sukuma, listen. I was like, where is the dressing when I first got there? Because I just knew somebody had forgot to put out the dressing. She was like, there is none. I said, but we have oil, we have lemon, we have salt. Surely somebody can, they took that. They took that advice and they actually mixed it onto the salad. I don't know why it was so watery. I don't know why it was tasteless. Like, I don't know. It wasn't enough food. Like I said, folks was hungry. So it wasn't enough food. There was a few times that some people came back from the Dharma hall, that's what they call the meditation hall, and it wasn't no food left. And that brings me to my next point. Folks was greedy, okay? I really want to call them ninjas. Listen, but I'm going to be respectful. Folks was greedy. Plates piled high like they was never going to eat again. I'm like, what is all this karmic clearing, this meditation that we doing? What is all of that for if you're going to come out of meditation and hoard food? There was one woman who was significantly older. She obviously had some health problems. Actually, there were two, and they were not getting to the cafeteria fast enough. By the time they would get there, was no food. Me being who I am, an advocate, a humanitarian at heart, even though people get on my nerves. Hey, I don't know about our species sometimes. I would go to the servers and I would say, hey, she hasn't eaten. There's no food for her. Um, I did the best I could what I had. Okay. Like the thing that I was like, okay, I love this was the toast with butter. We actually got butter. So, I tried to hold on to my butter for like the evening meal, but then it would be all dried out. That didn't work. The jaggery, I don't know what type of jaggery it was, date or what. Listen, that jaggery, it wasn't hard. It was a little thick and viscous. I was living for the jaggery. And then I started getting hot flashes and I was like, okay, I gotta cut back on the jaggery. But I had to make a decision. Do you want sugar or do you want hot flashes? Like, do you want hot flashes or do you just want to not have this special sweet? And sometimes I chose the hot flashes because one of the things that Vipassana is good for is addiction. So to be honest, I came out of Vipassana and I did not have a craving for the monthly cookies that I would allow myself. Um, what else? Let's get into the people sneaking the food. Let's get into that. The people that have been there before and know what to expect. Oh, I was noticing, I was like, this one and that one and that one, they not joining us for lunch. They not hungry. They coming down late. And when they coming down, they only coming for boiled water, hot water. My suspicion is that they had them oodles and noodles. They had their ramen up there. And they was just coming down for some hot water so they could, because that ramen is going to be better than what they was serving. Or maybe you get a little beans and put on the ramen. I don't know. Then to confirm my suspicion, okay, I found the seasoning package. You might say, Tadre, you was minding other folks' business. You should be minding. Listen, I was hungry. And I saw the little oodles and noodle packet on the ground outside. I said, oh, yeah, folks are sneaking food. Uh-huh. you know. What else should you expect? Folks might quit. In fact, in my group, there was a woman who went home. And she was a sister from the UK, London specifically, and she was Indian descent, and she told me her mom and I think her cousin had done it in the UK, and they just had these great experiences. What they described to her, she was like, my experience and their experience is not lining up. So, there was a few of us that had like this, that had lived abroad, that had grown up abroad, that were there. And I think that I'll just speak for me. It was tough for me because, yeah, of everything that I've mentioned. So sis is getting ready to go, and she calls to me from her room. She's like, I'm getting ready to go. I'm like, what? I'm leaving. So I go to her room and she's just like, I'm leaving for all the reasons that I just spelled out. She was like, it's filthy, it's disgusting, the food is nasty, and my butt hurts. Because you literally sitting in one place for hours. I tried to convince her to stay. She refused. They didn't give her stuff back. They didn't give her phone back or nothing. She went to the gate. She asked the guards to call a car for her, and she bounced. There was another woman next to me. When I say it was filthy, like, it went beyond the rooms. So we all had to wash our own plates. When I listened to the YouTube videos of the people who had done Vipassana in Australia, in the UK, in the US, ain't nobody said nothing about washing their own nothing. Here you go, that's what you gonna do. Just wrap your mind around that. So when you have to wash your own plates or whatever, there's 3 basins, okay? One is like to get all the first layer of food debris off. The second basin, then the third basin is supposed to be like everything is clean, but it's not really. Okay, so I was alarmed because that hasn't been my life experience, but now here we are. I said, all right, I'm gonna get with this. The lady next to me, she was like, me and her was both like, we're gonna be the first people to finish our food so we can wash our dishes first. I wasn't able to do it. She was like methodical about being the first person to wash her shit. And when she wasn't, she had a cold attitude. Now, and mind you, all this is in silence. So you're reading faces, like you're just feeling people's energy, and you're not supposed to be looking in nobody's face. Okay. Then one day I come back from the Dharma hall and I see this woman wash her hands. Okay. Wash her hands from the bathroom in the last basin that's supposed to be the one for the clean water. In my whole body, I was just like, oh my God, but you can't say nothing. So then I go to the servers and I report what I saw, and they just, everything I said, they thought my shit was entertaining. No, I'm legit concerned. I'm legit concerned here. You know what I'm saying? COVID ain't that far away. Now, they was like, oh, we'll put out a sign. They ain't never put that sign out. Again, gaslit, ignored, mentally abused. Come on now. All right. Issues that went unaddressed. I think I talked about everything except for the water shortages. Now, they already got one bucket for, 20 some odd women to wash their clothes. Okay. One mop, right? But they'll put up a sign and say, oh, please don't keep the mopping bucket in your room. You must share. But they couldn't put out no sign telling people don't be washing your hands in the clean water for the dishes. Breathe. Where am I? Then one day we just ain't had no water. This is when the American in me just come. I went to go take a shower, honey, with no water. I'm already getting up before the first bell ring so I can have some hot water. I'm getting up at 3 a.m. Because if you try to take your bath during break time like everybody else, you're not going to have no hot water. So even there were a couple of days I got up at 3 a.m. with no hot water. Thankfully, they did something about that. But then they talking about, they put up a sign that, be frugal with the waters because we running out of water. I was just like, oh my Jesus. Okay. So one of the things that will happen during Vipassana is all this suppressed stuff. Be ready. All of that anger, all of that fear, all of that sadness that you pushed down, be ready. I wanted to fuck people up. I'm not gonna lie. Listen, there were some days I was like, oh, I want to slap everybody in here, right? I'm coming out the Dharma hall. I'm going straight to the cafeteria and I'm just like, why do I want to slap people? So, and I wasn't the only one, because folks was coming out of Vipassana like bullies, you know what I'm saying? Like trying to hurry you along the line in the cafeteria. Like there was some bullies reaching over you. They're putting the butter on your bread and they reaching over you, or they trying to make you hurry up in the butt. Listen, where I come from, and we are very passionate people. I will never apologize for that. You reach over somebody, that's grounds for getting cussed the fuck out. That's fighting grounds. How is you reaching over somebody's food, or you reaching across people's face? And then there were those days where I was moving through that anger that I really just had to come on. You know how you drive and there's somebody just riding your ass, and you should listen. You just got to pull over because they on another plane. There was just times I was just like, go ahead, because this is not good. You angry, I'm angry. Like, just go on, get your food, go on. There, so that's another thing to expect. Um, but you will move through it. I hope that you move through it. If you decide to go on this Vipassana journey, I believe you will move through the sadness. You will move through the anger, because it comes up in the beginning, but then you got so many more days to just transmute that energy. People was getting sick, honey. I was like, no. I don't know. You want to call me a germaphobe? Hey, I'll take it. I like things to be a certain way. And you're in darkness. You're surrounded by tens of people. You're in silence. And this one can't stop blowing their nose. This one is hacking and blowing their nose. That one over there blowing their nose. That one, like, it was a lot, and we're in a contained space, and all I kept thinking about was, oh my God, I don't want to get sick. What I didn't know, because I wasn't told, is that Vipassana is a karmic exercise. It's a karmic meditation. So think about metaphysics, mind, body, spirit. It's all connected. So as these emotions are coming up, as your karma is coming up, some people is getting sick because the karma is physically triggering the mucus, the bacteria, the virus. I personally, now that I know what it is, I don't think it's contagious. But at the time, I was like, hell to the no. What is this? This lady, the person right next to me was the most sick in the room. She couldn't breathe. She had all this dirty tissue. I was like, Lord, please. So I go to the teacher after every meditation period. I think there's once a day or twice a day where you can go to the teacher and you can speak to the teacher about your meditation concerns. I said, listen, folks is sick. They should either be forced to meditate in the room, or I can go to my room and I can meditate. One or the other. I'm fine with meditating in my room. In fact, in the first meditation in the morning, you do in the room. So I'm like, they need to be sequestered. She was like, have some compassion. Think of think of them like your family. We are family. I was like, we quarantine people. We quarantine people during COVID. We can quarantine these people. Listen, I'm happy to quarantine myself, to sequester myself. I'm happy to do that. It was just like my concerns was just blown in the wind. Okay, but I did notice after that one woman right there, she didn't come back for some days, and I was grateful. Very grateful. I didn't get sick, but I will tell you, as the days went on, more and more people was getting sick. Oh my gosh. So this is the thing. They gaslit me about the contagion. I went to one of the service. I expressed my concern. With the teacher. One of the servers was like, oh, but they informed us before that they were sick and they're on medication. You know, when you're on medication, it's not contagious. I said, that's not true. What is this? Is it an urban legend? What is this? You're sick, but you're on medication, and that means it's not contagious? No. How do you think viruses and bacteria spread in a household? Listen. And then for her to tell me, oh, they let us know beforehand. This is what I want you to know. There was a period when we all arrived, and there was a period, okay, when the orientation started. In between that long, it was hours, by the way, okay, but we were just standing around like anxious, not knowing what to expect. There was in that time frame, we were talking to each other about random shit, about anything. And when nobody sneezing, when nobody coughing, did nobody have a stuffy nose, baby, did nobody go to them beforehand and say, hey, yeah, I'm sick? No. In fact, before your orientation, your interview, come on now, gaslighting again. Why didn't I like it? Why didn't I like it? For all the reasons that I mentioned previously, I just felt bullied. Like, I can laugh about it now, but to be honest, when I left there, I just felt bad. I felt really bad. I'll go into this a bit more. Let me stay on task because I know that this is getting to be a bit long. They bill it as a 10-day meditation retreat. It's really a 12-day meditation boot camp. Their methodology, my girlfriend who's done it before and she likes it, she's like, oh, I just ignore the BS. Me, I couldn't ignore it. So there's another way to teach it. I know that it's set up to take the average householder, as they call them, to transition you from being like a regular degular, somebody who don't meditate, to someone who literally can change your karmic direction. But you don't need 12 days to do that, to learn how to go in your body and close your eyes and find the itches, the pinches, the pings, the irregular feelings. That don't take 12 days. It really doesn't. But listen, I left on the 11th day. Do you know how I can't even put into words how I felt when I woke up on the 10th day. Mind you, we don't have no phones, we have no calendar. When I woke up on the 10th day, and there's a bulletin board. There's a bulletin board outside of the Dharma Hall that has like, okay, this is the program for day 1, day 2, all the way to day 10. Imagine, I see, we not at the last day. It says day 10. Like on day 10, when I ran out of candles, because I had a candle for each day on day 10, I already had my stuff packed. I was ready to go. My stuff was packed. And I asked the teacher, I said, when do we leave? She was like, oh, tomorrow in the morning. I said, what time do we leave? She said, in the morning, tomorrow in the morning. So my stuff was packed. Okay, imagine after the morning meditation, they talking about go and eat and come back for afternoon meditation. I said, say what? At what time are we leaving today? Imagine at evening meditation, they tell you that the program continues tomorrow. Then I said, I'm outside in the dark. Everybody done gone to bed. I'm pacing back and forth. I'm pacing back and forth, and I'm talking to myself. Because I'm like, when do I go home? Day 11. My stuff is still packed because I'm thinking I'm going home on day 11. No. Then they tell you what the schedule is for tomorrow. You mean day 12? Listen, my roommate was so upset, and you can't talk. My roommate was so upset. She just kept throwing her body across the bed, flopping this way. Listen, I wanted to say to her so bad, ain't this some bullshit? I really wanted to but I knew once we started, we wouldn't be able to stop. I knew we weren't supposed to talk. And me talking to her about it wasn't going to change shit. There was a couple of nights, but one night in particular, I could not sleep. I was so incensed about what was happening. All types of boundaries being violated, by the way. And if you don't see them, it's because you ain't got no boundaries. And what helped me is I had just finished reading this book by Dr. Nedra Tawwab, where it's called Set Boundaries, Find Peace. I had just finished reading that book. I'm sitting there like, they violate all types of boundaries. So there was one evening, I was so incensed that I couldn't sleep. I just walked. I just walked back and forth along that limited driveway. They got this driveway that you're confined to. Remember, I said you couldn't walk the grass or the grounds or the garden. I just kept walking back and forth until I got tired enough to where I could go to sleep. Also, to go back to the anger, the sadness, when you go to the teacher and you tell them, like, this is what I'm experiencing, all she said to me was, let it come up. That's good. Let it come up. Because they sit there like, they'll call your name sometimes after meditation, or they'll call you in sections and you'll go and you'll sit before the teacher. That's another thing I ain't like. I'm down here sitting cross-legged or on my knees, and she's up here. And I don't like that. So I'm like, how are you feeling? How is the meditation going? Do you feel any sensations in your body? Because that's what you're searching for in Vipassana. You're searching for irregular sensations, not how this shirt feels on your skin, right? Your irregular sensations. Like right now, I feel a little itch right here. Okay. So you're like, I feel angry. That's good. Let it come up. I like, let it come up, because we're socialized that you suppress the anger, right? But that's fine. She said, you don't want to leave here and feel angry, do you? I said, no. But yet I was, because of how I was treated. Now, what she should have been telling people is, that's your karma coming up. They don't want to scare people away, because this is a majority Christian nation. And I think there's like that 30% Muslim. They don't want to scare you away. So when you start talking about karma, to a lot of people, that's demonic. That ain't got nothing to do with their religion. So instead of telling you what's really happening, I went to the lady, I said, on like the second or third day, I said, I need to know the blueprint. What's the blueprint? The way my mind works, you can't just throw me in a situation and think that day by day, hour by hour, I'm going to go along with your program. I need to know what is happening. You can call me being on the autistic spectrum. I don't know. I know I need details. I said, lady, give me the blueprint. What's supposed to happen? Why do you need to know such things? Man. Okay. So, like I said, there's all types of boundary violations. On the 11th day, okay, I go to meditation. They tell us they're going to give us back our phones. Amen. Then they talk about tomorrow, you'll meditate, you'll have your breakfast, and we're going to give you your cleaning assignments. Oh my God. So now I'm trying to understand. I signed up for 10 days. It's now 11 days. You're giving me back my phone, but I can't leave. For what? Why are you giving me back my phone? You're telling me I can talk, but I can't leave. For what reason? Then there was one woman who was very senior. She looked to be like maybe 85. I was literally worried about her, because she was having difficulty walking from the Dharma hall to the cafeteria. She was like, there was one moment like I didn't think she was going to make it. I was walking behind her to make sure she was going to make it. I even went and talked to one of the servers. They're supposed to be there to serve me, right? I talked to one of the servers, and I asked, I said, I'm worried about her. She said, oh, sometimes I walk behind her. She doesn't want any help. Da, 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 da. Then I looked up one day and she wasn't there. And so I asked one of the servants what happened to her. I was literally concerned. Is she in her room meditating? Has she gone home? Like, why are you asking? This one that I had a problem with, one of the servers, me and her, I had a problem with her. Why are you asking? I said, I'm legit concerned. Well, I'm not allowed to talk about other students. Oh, okay. So this woman, she went home. Then she shows up on day 11. So I'm like, I was there feeling bad for the woman. No, she rose up in a big body Range Rover, honey. Hey, I was like, oh, I'm worried for the wrong reasons. But then, like, if it's not over, why are these people who wasn't there throughout most of it able to show up and just be like, hey, we finished. Yes, congratulations. Everybody was just like, or not everybody, but most people seemed to be happy, elated. They could talk. They got their phones back. I was just like, A, I don't want to talk to nobody. B, I want to know when I can go home. Why can't I go home? So I'm eating lunch, and then one lady comes over to me, and she's just like, "Yeah, I want to get your information because I'm leaving, and I want to add you to the WhatsApp." I listen. Don't add me to. I said I'm already in enough WhatsApp groups. I don't want to be added. And you leaving? Oh yes, I've done this multiple times, so I'm leaving. Do you see my confusion? So apparently, when you are a vet student or old student, you can like drop in and out, I guess. I don't know. Nothing was explained to me. So on day 11, they lay out all these books, right? They lay out the books, and I'm waiting. Everybody waiting so we can get our phones back. They want you to buy the books. They want to talk to you about the books before they get your phone back. Like, it's too much. Listen. So at a certain point, I said, Title, you're going to have to decide. Are you staying or are you leaving? Are you about to sit through another 8 hours of meditation? Are you about to have another watery meal? Are you about to bathe in this dirty ass bathroom one more day? Are you about to sleep in this bed one more night? And you know you ain't cleaning. And then wake up the next day and do it all over again for a few hours. And I just got to a point where I was like, no. And I zipped my suitcase because remember, I had already been packed, right, for the past 2 days. And I called an Uber at the worst fucking time because they were all seated in a certain area and they could see the Uber come up. It was a semi-outdoor area. They could see the Uber come up. They could see me dragging my suitcase. This was another thing. So then in the literature that they sent you, they say you can bring a meditation pillow. All the videos I watched on YouTube said bring a meditation pillow. You can see I got plenty of pillows up in here. So I brought this big meditation pillow that I'm sitting on. I bring the pillow first day. They were like, oh, go talk to the teacher about that. The teacher was like, what is that? I said, this is my meditation pillow. Oh, it's too big. I said, well, nobody told me what size it was supposed to be. And it wasn't too big. And I would have been able to, I would have been more comfortable using my own pillow. But I don't know if the goal is to make you real uncomfortable. I don't know. But see how that miscommunication was working? So anyway, my Uber rolls up. Everybody is seated out there. And they like, what's happening? I got this big ass zebra print suitcase. We putting it in the Uber. One of the organizers or one of the servers comes over. I know the server for from another spiritual event, right? He's doing his best not to look at me because he's not supposed to. And they come over and they're like, are you leaving? I'm like, yes, I'm going. And the Uber driver was just like, they were like, well, why are you leaving? I said, this day 11. I signed up for 10 days. They said, well, the program is not over. I said, listen here, I signed up for 10 days. They said, well, the first day was actually day 0. They were like, if you leave today, we're sorry to say you won't be complete. I said, I'm complete within myself. Now imagine you have committed yourself to silence, to following all their rules, to doing everything they tell you to do. And on the 11th day, they tell you you're not complete. I left there feeling incomplete. I left there feeling abused. I thought I would feel fulfilled, like I had accomplished something, like I had did something. No, I was angsty. I was tense. I felt dejected in some ways. And then it took me 2 days to get through that feeling. It was not good. So the gaslighting, the lying, the boundary violations, that ain't right. They got to change that. And when I talked to one of my acquaintances, strong acquaintances who's on the board, I told him about what I experienced, and he was very intentional about setting aside time to talk to me because I was like, yo. And he was like, you're right about this. This is why we do that. This is why this has happened. You're right about that. I understand. This is just how it is. He told me that they have secured land. so that they can then build their own space and they won't be beholden to Cole Payne's rules about, being confined to the driveway. But they need to let people know it's 12 days or just shorten it down to actual 10 days. Then, like I said, there's a lack of communication. You're being spoon fed information day by day by day. The first day, I think they just having you like breathe in and out through your nose and just focus on your nose to basically to acclimate you to the sensitivity of your body. Then I think on the third day, they tell you to concentrate on the tip of your nose. And I'm confused because I'm like, I don't know what I should be feeling now. Should I be euphoric? Should I be levitating? What should I be experiencing right now? I'm just breathing. Then this style of Vipassana, this style of teaching was founded by a guy named Goenka. I didn't know that. My neighbor was like, you didn't do your research? I was like, I watch YouTube videos. Nobody mentioned Goenka. Who is Goenka? Then, like I said, I think on like the fourth night, you start going into lectures. There's these lectures in the evening. Hour and 15 minutes, this man is sitting there. He talking slow with his wife. And it's like, I don't know who the man is. I don't know what time period it. Oh, it said it was in the 90s that the video was shot. I'm like, I have so many questions. So then I go to my teacher, the meditation teacher, and I sit before her. I'm looking up at her, and I'm like, who is this man, and why is he so important to Vipassana? All will be revealed. Why do you want to know such things? Because I had to sit there for an hour and 15 minutes and listen to the man after I'd have meditated for 10 hours. I want to know why so I got to a point where I was like, I'm going to listen to the first 15 minutes. I'm going to get my ass up and I'm going to go to my room and prepare for the evening. Brush my teeth, make my bed, get my clothes ready, all that. Chill, and then I'll go back and I'll do the nightly meditation. That was my plan. I'm in the middle of my plan. I'm brushing my teeth. I get a knock on the door. One of the servers, the one who's very unavailable, very flippant, she comes to the door. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. Teacher sent me to come get you. I was like, what's the problem? She wants you to come back to the meditation room. So you won't tell me who this man is, why he's important. He's giving anecdote after it to prove one point. He's got 3 anecdotes. I counted. Okay. And now I have to be forced to sit there for an hour and 15 minutes. We on the floor now. Everybody is trying to get comfortable. Listen. So my plan is thwarted. I put my shoes on. The lady say, I'll be waiting for you outside. By the time I get outside, she gone. So now I'm pissed. Like for real pissed. So I'm walking back to the Dharma hall and I see so I catch up to her. Move real fast. I catch up to her. I say, I find you to be very unapproachable. That's fine. This is what the woman says to me. That's fine, with a quickness. So I said, you don't care? And she was like, I don't want to talk about this right now. I don't want to talk about this right now. And she speeds up. And I'm like, where the fuck is you going? We going to the same place. I didn't curse though. Okay. So now I'm speaking out loud. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I'm speaking out loud about how absurd this situation is. I talk to you about my concerns. You don't address my concerns. You blow them off. You're here to serve, but you're not serving. So she's like, I don't want to talk about this right now. So she runs off. She dodges to the bathroom. That's weird. I sit down to take off my shoes to go in the Dharma hall. She has to sit across from me to take off her shoe. Like, what are you doing here? So she said she didn't want to talk about it right now. I'm thinking surely at some point, sis is going to pull me to the side and say, hey, I want to have a conversation with you about this. This is why I did that. These were my instructions. That never happened. The rest of my days there, she just avoids me. On that day that we were allowed to speak, on those last 2 days, at no point did she come to me and say jack shit. Yo, I told my girl who's a repeat attender, I told my guy who is on the board about that experience. I don't know if anything was ever done. He just apologized and he was like, unfortunately, your experience will be dictated by the servers in charge. Yo, she should never be allowed to serve ever again. And so what happened in that situation, because you have two servers, because everybody knew not to go to her, that meant the bulk of the concerns, the bulk of the work landed on the server who was accessible, who was available. So teaching versus the practice. I have illustrated in detail why that teaching methodology did not work for me. When I got back, I talked to my girlfriend who I had no idea had done Vipassana. She had done it before, like way back in the day. And she was like, actually, I would love to sign up for a 20-day, a 30-day. She was like, all the other shit, I would just ignore it. I'll ignore the bullshit because the benefits are so great. You can do Vipassana in your home. Okay? But the practice, life-changing. Life-changing. Literally, if you feel like there are blockages in your life, sit down and do some Vipassana. Watch doors start to open up. Watch. And like I said, it's a simple practice. Close your eyes, go within, scan your body. However, you just scan it. I feel something right here on my chin. Focus on that without judgment until it goes away. You're clearing karma. How do it work? I can't explain, but it works. People are able to do this practice and rid themselves of addictions. It's life transformative. So again, there's the teaching methodology, there's the practice. I will choose the practice every time. In fact, for somebody like me, would I do it again? No, I wouldn't do it again because I don't need 10 days. What I would do is go in a space that's very comfortable for me, which you can see my home is set up just for me. This is my style. And I make my food the way I like. And I can meditate for 5 hours a day, whatever it's going to be. I don't think I need that, but if that's what I wanted to do, you can do that in your own house in the comfort of your own self if you're disciplined. If you are in Vipassana where there's a garden, where the food is decent at least, or good. My homegirl said her food was good. If you have great servers, if the facilities are nice, you got your own room, that makes a world of difference because you're less uncomfortable. And my advice for those who are going to Vipassana, bring whatever you need to bring to be comfortable. I think in the literature that they sent me that they didn't want you to bring a teddy bear. Some people as adults still need that. Me, I like to dress. So I bought all of my colorful two-piece jogging lounge sets because I knew I was going to need that color. I knew that's what was going to make me more comfortable, make me feel more settled. I brought all my choice beauty products and I did them. My scrubs, my lotions, I did all of that. The only thing I didn't bring was my electric toothbrush because, again, silence. So, I made sure I had that. Bring your favorite blanket. Bring your favorite pillow. Whatever is going to make you feel more settled in your body, bring that. You know what I'm saying? I think I've touched on how Vipassana has changed my life. I have more wealth in every way, in every way, in terms of money, in terms of opportunity. One of the things that I have been manifesting is a life of ease. It's happening. Romantic love has appeared in my life. When I was perfectly fine with living a rich life, solo dolo. I highly recommend the practice. I think I've already mentioned that you can do this in your home. I'm pretty sure I covered every major detail. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. That's it for now. Thank you for joining me on this episode of BLAXIT to Africa. May you be inspired. May you move with love and intention. See you soon.